Come on, I dare you to cross this line. Hi everybody, and a warm welcome back to Maple Leaf Customs in Switzerland. I'm Andrew, and today's project is the final phase of the year-long Super Huge Ginormous Buildoff. I submitted my favorite rock band car in part 1, a rusted-out Toblerone van for my favorite candy, the theme for part 2. I made a Lea Perrins Worchestershire Sauce delivery truck for my favorite condiment, and in part 4, our choice of a TV or movie vehicle, I did the Mutt cuts from Dumb and Dumber, wrapping a super van with a bath mat. Most recently, I created the Batmobeetle and promised it would reappear as the centerpiece in the part 5 Graveyard diorama theme. Dioramas are not really my specialty here at Maple Leaf Customs, although I have done a few of them, both on large and small scales. I had a piece of regular meter-long styrofoam in my hobby room, and I cut it into a half-a-meter square, which I thought would be big enough to house what I've got in mind for this. It's the real crumbly kind of styrofoam, so I need to treat the edges with this stucco wall repair. It's like taking the first scoop out of a brand new jar of peanut butter. One of life's most enjoyable experiences. I'm going for a very uneven rock face-like appearance on this one, so I can just slather it on. That dried up overnight, and now I take some dollar store acrylic black paint, a very scientific mix of 50-50 with water, and mix that up. This will be the paint treatment for just along the edges. I wanted to put a Pac-Man character right in the middle of my diorama. This is a wooden coffee coaster that I've chipped out, and a printed cobblestone topping on it, just on regular paper. I get out the ubiquitous Mod Podge that acts kind of like an adhesive on top of the wood to secure the print. Make sure I get those edges down nicely too. And then it's a protection on the top once that dries up. Here's the same print, just in a smaller strip that I'll put around the edges. You'll see what becomes of this in just a few moments. I'll let your imagination run wild first. This is the very same cobblestone print, but now in walkway-shaped strips. I'm putting these on top of a foam pad to elevate them slightly above the styrofoam. Same treatment with the Mod Podge. Regular white glue will affix all of the cobblestone pieces right on top of the untreated styrofoam. This is a finely cut piece of balsa wood into which I can easily make some impressions at 1 centimeter intervals. And these are going to be my pavers along the sides of the walkway strips. I've painted them in a light gray, regular glue. That gives me some nice edging, also in a 3D relief. I'm chipping out a little bit of the styrofoam to make a recess here. I want this to look like an explosion has happened, with some debris laying around it, painted to match the cobblestone. Now I put a generous amount of white glue down. I'm sprinkling some sand to serve as the base layer for my diorama turf. Not a 100% coverage, but I want my graveyard to look a little bit scruffy and scrappy. This is what I've ended up with, which requires another overnight for proper dry time. Most of my flocking assortments come from the dollar store and various hobby shops. If it's a little too coarse, I toss a couple of different colors into this coffee bean grinder. It's only a couple of dollars to buy it brand new. You could find it at the thrift shop too. That gives me a little bit finer mix, which is more to my liking for this. I use a pipette with a mix of white glue and water on top of the sand, and I drop my flocking down also randomly, leaving some intentional patches. And I've got this effect now. It's a graveyard, so I thought I'd carve out at least one new final resting place. Put a little bit more sand in that and a pile beside it for authenticity. Here you can see the next several custom cars that I've got on the calendar. Again, the diorama is a bit of a diversion from my regular practice, but I hope you'll come back if you're enjoying this video and tune in regularly for Saturday uploads. Be sure to hit the like button, that really helps me out. And why not become a subscriber to Maple Leaf Customs? It's absolutely free. Knowing this large-scale diorama project was coming, I started 3D printing several weeks ago, making various elements that I thought would suit the genre. Mine are all printed out in a basic gray water-soluble resin, so that's a good start for this kind of stonework. You can see the fine detail that comes out. Most of the gravestones are about 2 centimeters high for scale. First treatment I give them is a little bit darker gray. It just goes on blotchy. I want these to look severely weathered, as if they've been out there for generations. Every creepy graveyard needs some gargoyles to sit on top of some of the stone fence pillars. This is a raven. It gets a full black coverage instead of dark gray. Got a couple little more crows. I went over every single stone piece for a third time with some very light dry brushing in white to add to the weathered stone effect. I pinned down a piece of bright string to help me visualize a 5 centimeter border all the way around the diorama. This will serve as a guide for my 3D printed stone wall and pillars with wrought iron fence all the way around. You might be able to see that I set some toothpicks into the bottom of the pillars so that they can easily be placed into the styrofoam and easily removed as well if I ever have to disassemble this. Now that's starting to look pretty cool, isn't it? I'll speed it up as I race around the perimeter. After I finish placing all of the stone wall sections and the gravestones, I can now place a few scary trees and lampposts. Here's a coffin with the lid ajar, and looks like someone is trying to escape. Now for the centerpiece. This is the main crypt. Can you read that inscription? Diecast Graveyard has been the host of the Super Huge Ginormous Buildoff, so I'm honoring him this way. A couple of well-placed stone gargoyles will sit on the pillars, in the corners, and at the end of the walkways, keeping a close eye on things. I placed 3 of these ravens on the wall, on top of a lamppost, and on the main crypt too. These crows were scattered throughout the rest of the diorama. And now to kick it up a notch, I do some final landscaping details. This is called sea foam, and you recognize some of the army painter tufts of grass. These are all just the right scale to look like authentic sized trees. They're dead like everything else is in this diorama, and a really nice additional touch are some fall leaves that have dropped here and there, not too many as to draw attention to themselves, but enough to make a nice realistic difference. Check it out. There's been enough inexplicable paranormal activity going on inside the gates of this graveyard that the police have sealed it off. So I've made up a couple of police line do not cross tapes. Pretty easy to do. Printed on yellow paper. Once applied, they add another really cool note of authenticity. That was the final touch. And now it's time for the very scary reveal. Okay, it wasn't that scary. And you can come back out from under the bed. The Batmobeetle is back, as promised, bursting out of the ground, spewing rock and debris everywhere, wings unfurled, ready to take flight, indicating that beneath this human cemetery is a true Diecast Graveyard. But they're starting to burst free, in real Old Testament fashion, rising up from the graves, dogs and cats living together, as Bill Murray once explained. That's my Diecast Graveyard, and my submission for the final phase of the Super Huge Ginormous Buildoff. You can see it in 360-degree panoramic paranormal vision. It was great fun to put this together because it was such a diversion from my regular thing. Thank you for visiting my channel again today. I hope you'll come back soon and often. Be safe. It's coffee time.